Hey guys, it's Sunday evening, November 3rd. And this was originally I was going to do a budget video for you guys about this time. But last month I faced some medical challenges and did some doctor visits and had some tests run and all this and that. And not all the bills from that have come in yet. So I can't give you a definitive number. But I can tell you I went over budget. So stay tuned on that one. Anyway, I thought I'd go ahead and chat with you a little bit tonight about relationships here in the Philippines and kind of compare them to the relationships that I experienced while living in America. And, you know, relationships, whew, we could go on all kinds of different levels there. We could talk about man-woman relationships, friend relationships, work relationships, community relationships. And I think just to keep it simple, we'll just go with man-woman relationships. And then maybe at the end of the video, if you guys have a comment or a suggestion, we could touch on some of those other subjects too. But this actually got inspired by a communication that I had about a week ago with my ex. But it hadn't really occurred to me to talk about this until that happened. What happened was I'd had these medical issues, and I have, unfortunately, my ex and I have a son that committed a crime and is in prison, and I don't have any way of communicating to him except via mail. And it takes 30 to 45 days for me to get a letter from here to there, period. And so I thought that I'd ask her to do me a solid, you know. So I got online on Facebook Messenger and hadn't talked to her in a long while. And I contacted her and I said, hey, you know, I got some things going on. Would you mind conveying this information to our son? And her reply was, well, just write him a letter. I said, well, you know, it takes a month to get there. She goes, yeah, I know. I said, no problem, forget about it. And after that little back and forth, I thought, wow. And I looked at the time, May was sitting next to me while I was on the computer. And I didn't say anything to her, but I just looked at her and I thought, what a difference. You know, what a difference in attitude, what a difference in roles, what a difference in everything. When I lived in America, I was really confused as I got older about what kind of a role do I play as a man. The world was quickly changing, and you know, women were much more prevalent in the workforce. They've gone on all these bandwagons lately about equal this and movement that. And I guess that's okay, you know, but it seems like everything over there is moving very, very fast for the women and this group of people and that group of people. And the guys are just kind of like treading water. I don't see a lot of men movements happening, do you? And I think that the traditional, you know, when I was growing up in the 50s and the 60s, there were traditional roles of men and women. And, you know, I just observed it. Men, my dad got up in the morning and did his thing and went to work. He worked in an office. And other guys, you know, would get up and go to work at the factory or the office or whatever it is that they did. And they'd come home at night. But mom stayed home. And they were housewives. And for some reason now that seems to be like a dirty word. And women are very competitive. When I was married, my ex was very competitive with me. I mean, I had a job that did okay. Nobody wanted for anything. Yet she felt compelled that she had to start a home business, which Ended up going nowhere, of course. But for the life of me, I was like, I couldn't figure it out. I mean, isn't this enough? You know, I mean, you got a nice house, you drive a new car every couple of years, you got credit cards in your purse, you got the kids that you always wanted. Isn't that enough? No. No, needed more, needed her own identity, needed this, needed that. And it was exhausting, you know? And I found that even my coworkers were being de-emasculated uh, by their significant other, their female significant other, married or otherwise. And used to have conversations with them at the proverbial water cooler and say, hey, what'd you do last night? Oh, I did this, I did that. And you want to do this and you want to go there? And it'd be like, well, I don't know. I got to ask the old lady. And I got to make sure it's okay with boss. And I thought, you know, how did that happen? Because when I was growing up, when my dad said something, that was that. And everybody just toed the line and we just did that. And I always thought that that made it easier on women when those roles were defined. I thought that, you know, the guys got to worry about making money, making the mortgage payment, keeping things moving, buying health insurance, putting food on the table. And the woman gets an opportunity to stay home in her pajamas all day. I mean, who walks away from that? Since when did women want to share in all this stress and grief that, you know, so up till recently, just men carried that burden. And actually, I think made life a lot easier for women. But it is what it is. I remember that when my dad came home, my mom was just there and like dinner was on the table and how was your day, sweetheart? And my dad is a real nice man. And he would say, well, it was good. I mean, I didn't get this done. And he was in sales. And he'd say, you know, I didn't. And in other words, he would say, I failed. In so many words, some nights. And my mom would just say, that's okay. That's all right, honey. Enjoy your dinner. And that was a nice, cool dynamic. I came home. I would go to work. And I would work, man. Sometimes I'd work 12, 14 hours, you know, depending on what day of the month it was or the end of the month or whatever. And I'd just be dead dog tired. And I would come home at night and I'd walk through the door, no dinner ready. And my wife would look up at me and she would say, hi. And I'd say, hi. And she'd say, how was your day? And it didn't matter how my day was. I just always said the same thing. I just said it was fine. And I would always make the fatal error. I would say, how was your day? And the reason it was a fatal error is that before I had a chance to get my tie off or grab a beer out of the refrigerator, she would waterboard me, you know, for like 20 minutes with the events of her day and how tough it had been with the kids and the dog, and Sally called and so did this, and by the way, that broke, and oh, I just had to do so much, and anyway, don't want to do ex-wife bashing here. She's not here to defend herself, not fair. So, over here in the Philippines, one of the first observations that I made that is still prevalent in my mind today is that I'm back in the 50s and 60s in America. There's a lot of indicators here that just remind me of the 50s and the 60s. And when I was growing up, normal stuff like gas station attendants are here. They don't have that in America anymore, but they had it when I was a kid. Beauty pageants are out here, are huge. And now back in, you know, everybody out here is very, very supportive of the local girls and the local barangay, and Miss Philippines is a big deal and a lot of pride in that. And I can remember back in the 50s and 60s, what a big deal it was for the Miss America pageant to come on TV. And we'd all gather as a family and watch that. And now it's just like, oh no, she's an object. All this political correct crap. And over here in the Philippines, I'm happy to tell you that like the 50s and the 60s, the male-female role is still well defined. I come home here to my girlfriend, and I don't work. I'm retired, so it's not like I go to a job every day. But there are days where I leave. In fact, when May and I were first getting together, a friend of mine had gotten really sick, and he owned a bar here in town. And so me and a bunch of other guys volunteered to help him. And on the day it was my turn to go, I would go over to the bar and I would be gone for 5-6 hours trying to help him keep his business afloat, again, along with a bunch of other guys. And when I got home from that, May would ask me, she'd go, how was your day? And I go, it was okay. And she'd say, well, tell me about it. You know, what did you do? You want some coffee? Are you hungry? And it reminded me of when my dad came home, you know, and I thought, wow, this is nice. Here, there's not a lot of there's not a lot of competitiveness of females versus males that I see in America. Women here really do take pride in how they look. They took pride in how well they keep a home. They take extreme pride in the children. And there's no such thing, to my knowledge, out here as a daycare center. The daycare center is the neighbor. You know, if the girl, and there's a female workforce out here, don't get me wrong. But they're mainly in their 20s. A lot of them work in retail. A lot of them go to school. But it's again, a lot of girls worked in retail and a lot of girls went to school in America in the 50s and the 60s. But they were still more into the home economics. They were still more into the boy-girl role was still well-defined. And that's just kind of the way that it works out here. I don't know how else to explain it to you. It's one of those intrinsic things that it's really hard to put a dime on it. You know, it's more of a feeling. It's just more of an attitude. I don't get blamed over here for being a guy. There's a level of, I think what it is a level of respect. There's a level of respect out here for older people. There's a level of respect out here for men. And there's just a bigger amount of dignity that people have in holding on to what it is they do have. Where in America, there is a resentment because we don't have enough or more. Out here, there's a lot of pride in helping one another, pulling together. And I'm speaking about the women out here. If a woman has a baby, everybody comes over. They don't come over for one day or mail them a gift from some list that they put on at Target. No, they go over there, and if they can't afford to give them anything, they donate their time and their energy. So that's kind of the way that I feel relationships should work, and that they are still alive and well over here in the Philippines. And I'm actually a little concerned about the direction that America's taking right now. There's a lot of division, and I think that a lot of that division has been created by the breakdown of just the roles of men and women. I think that they're going in opposite directions, and it's gonna collide one day. It's gonna come down to bite them on the ass. So anyway, that's my little rant. Like I said, I've got a budget video coming up, and I also have have a woman that's known as a yaya that I'm supposed to interview. A yaya is a housekeeper, and that is something that I really am interested in someone I'm really interested in talking to. And I think that once you guys see what she has to say, it'll have some impact on you. Okay, so do me a solid, and if you're enjoying the videos, just hit the subscribe button, and I will talk to you guys when I get a chance to talk to you again.